You are listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, don't forget to add us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
But hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 52. Today is all about healing herbs. So if you remember back to our complementary nutrition therapies episode, we talked about there are so many herbs and spices out there that actually can have some benefit. So we're just going to deep dive a little bit more into that and see, do some work. Is it just like hocus pocus? What's the deal?
Will it benefit you or will it kill you? That's the bigger question.
That's the biggest question of them all. But before we do that, we are going to dive into our new nutrition in the news. And this article kind of piggybacks off of the whole issue with supplements. So the title is Brain Boosting Supplements Contain Unapproved Drug. So new research led by Dr. Peter Cohen of Harvard Medical School documents 5 supplement brands for sale in the U.S. that contain various amounts of piracetam, a drug prescribed in European countries for cognitive impairment in dementia, but it is not approved in the U.S. The Food and Drug Administration, which is the FDA, doesn't allow piracetam to be sold as a dietary supplement and has issued warning letters in the past to other companies marketing supplements that contain it. Though the drug is approved in Europe, evidence for using piracetam to improve cognition was inadequate, said a review that reviewed 24 different studies that enrolled more than 11,000 patients in 2012. So that is a pretty big sample size, and it's probably, a pretty good conclusion. Companies can start selling dietary supplements without notifying the FDA. A lot of people don't know that, and that is very important. But under the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, which is DASHA, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, the FDA can take action if products are unsafe or misbranded. Marketing messages can't claim that the supplements treat Alzheimer's disease. If they report to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease, the FDA can send warning letters to remove the products from the market.
Wow, it does so much.
Like, who listens to warning letters anyways?
I mean, I feel like I would, but not everybody is like that.
And I think the moral of the story is supplements can contain everything. The regulatory agencies are not very strong, so you have to be very careful with what you choose to consume. Even if like the supplement itself is deemed safe, you don't know the manufacturing processes either.
Right.
So
and a lot of supplements that are here are actually banned in other countries. So I feel like that says a lot about America and its regulation of supplements.
Right. We do have a very odd way of going about things.
It's like one part of the population, like, we don't want the FDA to be involved in anything. And then the other part of the population is like, why isn't the FDA doing more? Well, it's the people that don't want the FDA to do anything that's causing this to happen. So,
yeah. And sometimes the same person says both.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So with that being said, let's dive into our herbs. The first one, believe it or not, is cinnamon and its role with diabetes. I'm sure you guys have come across this before. So with type 2 diabetes increasing across the world overall, we realize that dietary modifications do help patients control blood glucose levels, or blood sugar, in other words. So with that being said, people have started to look towards other herbs and spices that have been deemed common for blood sugar control, among which is cinnamon started to gain a lot of popularity, and cinnamon is supposed to have the greatest effect on this. That's not a prescribed medication. So research has shown that adding cinnamon to diet can help lower the glucose level. Not all research, but just some. And The reason why is that some studies have shown that spices such as cinnamon and others have similar effects on insulin action, and cinnamon happens to be the most bioactive of them all. So that's something to take into consideration.
And numerous studies have looked at this issue, and some have found no benefit at all from cinnamon. Nutrition is very contradicting sometimes. Other small studies have found that cinnamon can lower levels of glucose, cholesterol, and actually triglycerides in the blood. It is important to keep in mind that a lot of studies perform their research on rats. Humans are not tiny rats, so it's not always you can't always replicate it. But these studies showed that cinnamon could decrease blood glucose in diabetes in these rats. One study reviewed that no significant change was noted between cinnamon and the placebo given. Results of the study showed that using a certain amount of cinnamon for 60 days did not change the glucose level in diabetic patients.
So that's just one study. And then another study, particularly this 2012 study, analyzed 69 patients in China with type 2 diabetes. So no rats this time. And one group took 120 milligrams of cinnamon daily, another 360 milligrams, and the third group had only a placebo. So after 3 months, the placebo group saw no change, while the other two groups taking cinnamon had lowered A1C levels. And for those that you don't know, A1C is basically how your blood sugars are looking over a 3-month period. And then finally, there was a 2013 meta-analysis of 10 studies that found that consuming cinnamon produced a statistically significant, so according to the numbers, a decrease in glucose, total cholesterol, LDL, and triglycerides, which is who knew that this would happen. And it also increased high density lipoprotein, so HDL, also known as the good cholesterol. But researchers noted that applying these results to individuals is tricky, and this is mainly because the amount and kind of cinnamon taken and the use duration of cinnamon was different in each study as well in this meta-analysis. So cinnamon may have some health benefits. However, the American Diabetes Association doesn't really recommend relying on cinnamon as a sole reason or sole way to reduce that blood sugar level at all. So, nor do we recommend that either. So, results from the studies have been conflicting, and there is not enough evidence to prove that just cinnamon alone works.
Right. And the next one we're going to go into is fenugreek and its relationship to diabetes as well. It was primarily found to be effective when used in conjunction to traditional diabetes medication. Metformin is the most common diabetes medication prescribed to those with type 2 diabetes. So most studies look at fenugreek, fenugreek plus metformin, and then like placebo alone. So the reason why fenugreek is thought to work is because it contains soluble dietary fiber, protein, vitamin C, niacin, potassium, 4-hydroxyisoleucine, lysine, and L-tryptophan. Those are amino acids. Fenugreek seeds also contain a gel-like soluble fiber that has been shown to combine with the bile acids and lower triglycerides and LDL levels. The amino acids present in fenugreek are useful in boosting insulin sensitization and glycogen synthesis. So that's kind of how it works, combating insulin resistance. Dietary fibers that are present are specifically known to enhance hypoglycemic activity, and additionally, dietary fiber may significantly contribute to fenugreek's activity in lowering blood glucose and cholesterol. That's kind of how fenugreek is thought to work. But there are some safety concerns with fenugreek. Do not take it if you are pregnant because it can affect uterine contractions. So it does have some interactions, especially with estrogen in the body, and it might be unsafe for women with hormone sensitive cancers to be taking it. Side effects of fenugreek may include diarrhea, maple like smell to urine, or breast milk production problems, increased perspiration, and worsening of asthma. I do want to throw out here too, with either of these supplements, if you take it in addition to your traditional diabetes medication, it could actually cause hypoglycemia, which is like taking your blood sugar way too low. So that's why it's super important to tell your doctor what you're taking, because they need to give you the right dosing.
Okay, so the next herbal supplement that's currently out there, like keep in mind a lot of these are still out there, so that's why we have this episode. So the next one is what is the deal with St. Johnswort, and it is gaining a lot of traction, and especially with its concern with its interaction with depression itself. So, St. John's wort is thought to work in a similar fashion as traditional antidepressant medications. St. John's wort is thought to work in a similar fashion as traditional antidepressant medication, as it blocks and inhibits the reuptake of serotonin and norepinephrine. So, of the studies that were presented, the results are pretty mixed and they're not consistent. So, 2 of 3 studies found St. John's wort to be an effective treatment for depression, but unfortunately, the quality of these studies is very questionable. The studies were relatively short and had a poor sample size, which is already ringing 2 alarms. And there is an inconsistent conclusion of the suggested dosage for the general population as a whole, which is very common in a lot of other supplements. And there were minor side effects reported in these studies, including headaches, abdominal and gastrointestinal pain, menstrual complications, and photosensitivity and nervous system disorders. And trust me, there's even more side effects, which we'll go into.
Right. St. John's wort has a very long-standing reputation for its interaction with other medications. I mean, all supplements do, but this one has like the biggest reputation for it. Additionally, taking St. John's wort in addition to traditional antidepressant medication could cause to life-threatening levels of serotonin. As with all supplementation, there is a lack of standardization, as we talked about earlier. Manufacturing practices and plant potency is an ongoing concern. So combining St. John's wort with certain antidepressants can lead to potentially life-threatening increase of serotonin, which is a brain chemical which is targeted by traditional antidepressants. Symptoms can occur within minutes to hours and may include agitation, diarrhea, fast heartbeat, high blood pressure, hallucinations, increased body temperature, and much, much more. Does not sound like a good time. There are case reports of St. John's wort having dangerous side effects, such as worsening of psychotic symptoms in people with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia.
So, fun things, but but the next thing is that we'll kind of go into certain prescriptions that St. John's wort will actually weaken. So, such as antidepressants, we already talked about. We have birth control pills. So, and then you have cyclosporin, which is used to prevent the body from rejecting transplanted organs. That's a big one. So, the next one is digoxin, and that's a heart medication. Then you have oxycodone, and that's a pain medication. Some cancer medications, including irinotecan, and then especially this last one, warfarin, an anticoagulant, also known as a blood thinner. That's very important. And then other side effects, which we'll just go into all the side effects of St. John's wort, are also these side effects are pretty minor and uncommon, but they may also include upset stomach, dry mouth, headache, fatigue, dizziness, confusion, sexual dysfunction, or sensitivity to sunlight. Also, St. John's wort is a stimulant and may worsen feelings of anxiety in some people. So, like I said, it's pretty.
A lot of people take this, and I just don't know why. I just don't really know why. Like, some of them make sense. Like cinnamon, put some cinnamon on your oatmeal every morning and maybe it will help with your glycemic control or something.
It's pretty harmless, cinnamon.
Yeah, pretty harmless. The next one we're going to go into is specifically like rheumatoid arthritis and fish oil is pretty harmless too, but St. John's wort, like there's
That's
a,
on a whole new level.
there's a lot at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, we are going to dive into rheumatoid arthritis and fish oil now. So rheumatoid arthritis is a chronic autoimmune disease. So there is a very strong component behind a lot of autoimmune diseases, but ultimately there is no conclusive cause when it comes to RA. In rheumatoid arthritis, basically the body's immune system attacks the tissues of the joint, causing pain and inflammation. Immune and inflammatory cells, specifically macrophages, B and T lymphocytes, plasma cells, and dendritic cells. There are also cytokines present as well. So cytokines do play a central role in the perpetuation of synovial inflammation. So cytokines are a category of signaling molecules that mediate and regulate immunity and inflammation. Rheumatoid arthritis can cause permanent damage to joints, especially in the early years of disease.
And with that being said, diet and medications can help manage, but there is no actual cure. Also, anti-inflammatory foods are a big go-to for those with rheumatoid arthritis, and overweight individuals losing weight can help with the joint pain as well. So the following is just a list of certain anti-inflammatory foods that you can increase your intake of to help with the symptoms, and that is fatty fish. And this one is pretty important because fatty fish varieties such as salmon, mackerel, sardines, and trouts are high in omega-3 fatty acids, which have been shown to have potent anti-inflammatory effects in this case. Garlic, ginger, broccoli, walnuts, berries, spinach. Many individuals with RA like to have a fish oil supplement to help with the symptoms of RA. So fish oil is an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids, including EPA and DHA, which block inflammatory cytokines and prostaglandins. They are typically converted by the body into powerful anti-inflammatory chemicals called resolvins.
So according to the Arthritis Foundation, fish oil does reduce inflammation and especially morning stiffness in your joints. It does help treat rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, depression, and Raynaud's phenomenon. It is important for brain function and may inhibit rheumatoid arthritis development. So we are going to talk about dosing right now. That is a very common question when it comes to taking a fish oil supplement, and this is from the Arthritis Foundation, their suggestion. So fish oil can come in capsules, soft gels, chewable tablets, or liquid. For general health, 2 3-ounce servings of fish per week are recommended. However, it's difficult to get a therapeutic dose of fish oil from food alone. So to treat arthritis-related conditions, use fish oil capsules with at least 30% EPA and DHA, which are the active ingredients. For lupus and psoriasis, 2 grams of EPA and DHA 3 times a day. And for Raynaud's phenomenon, 1 gram 4 times per day. For rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, up to 2.6 grams twice a day. For depression, you can take 6.6 grams per day. As with all supplements, as we have mentioned and will continue to mention, they are not regulated, so try to look for third-party verified if you can.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we're going to go on to the next supplement, and that is, if you have it in your home, lavender and general anxiety disorder. So not a lot of people know about this particular incident. So basically the pathophysiology of GAD, so general anxiety disorder, comes from the GABA system disruption, increasing anxiety and fear responses. So overactivity of serotonin system are typically linked to anxiety disorders. Serotonergic drugs have been shown to be effective for depression and GAD, and SSR is effective typically for depressive symptoms and anxiety. So low serotonin levels have been linked to depression. So quick, fast facts on serotonin before we go into it more. So serotonin is an important chemical and neurotransmitter in the human body. It is believed to help regulate mood and social behavior, appetite and digestion, sleep, memory, and sexual desire and function. So GABA is the main inhibitory neurotransmitter. So its principal role is reducing neuronal excitability throughout the nervous system. So if you remember from gut month, members of the gut microbiome produce GABA as well.
Mm-hmm. So now we'll go into a little bit more of the details about lavender. So the flower of lavender is traditionally used in perfumes, aromatherapy, and massage due to its fragrance and calming effect. This herb can also be delivered via diffusion in the air. So this would be like an essential oil diffuser, or even some like plugins, air fresheners have them now. So lavender aromatherapy relies on an individual's sense of smell, so the stimuli reaching the olfactory nerve and the impact on the cortical center of the brain. This mechanism has been reported to reduce anxiety levels, improve mood, and physiologic measures of anxiety. Oral supplements are also available, which are derived from a steam distillation of lavender flowers. The immediate release capsule acts via the GABA receptors and has an anxiolytic and antidepressant potential. So because of this, lavender has been shown to have positive effect in general anxiety disorder. Additionally, it is pretty well tolerated and has no potential for like drug abuse and doesn't have any like hangover like effects.
Bonus. So the benefits of lavender are comparable to standard anxiolytics and antidepressants with fewer adverse effects when compared to your conventional medications. So this herb has been shown to have a minimal risk of side effects. It is important to note that lavender has been shown to have an anticoagulant, antiplatelet property, which is something to take note of, which may increase an individual's risk of bleeding when in combination with other drugs that have similar actions, such as warfarin, which we touched upon on the last herb. So psilocin, an oral lavender supplement, has actually been shown to be better than placebo and actually comparable to prescription drugs. And this product contains the two primary constituents of lavender oil, so linalool and linalool acetate, and the standard dose is 80 milligrams. So an 80 milligram dose is estimated to be about 20 drops per millimeter, which equates to 2 drops of lavender oil.
Right. So lavender has grown on the market significantly, so maybe
I,
there's some benefit.
I don't like lavender,
You don't like
so
lavender?
no,
It's
sorry.
grown on me. I like to diffuse lavender and peppermint together. Um,
I'm a
which
sandalwood gal.
I think because peppermint is supposed to invigorate you, so
Oh, I need to be invigorated then.
mixing peppermint and lavender, like I'm probably not getting any of the relaxing benefits of lavender because the peppermint is like
Might explain
overpowering.
some anxiety.
But I just like how it smells, so use it if you want, don't use it if you don't.
Minimal side effects compared to a lot of other substances, like cinnamon, basically.
Exactly. Pretty safe. So now we're going to get into a different supplement that we also mentioned in our
Hmm.
last episode. It is not really a spice or herb, but it is very popular and it deserves a mention. It's the street name for it is Fenphen, which is also Ephedra. So again, this is like the most infamous supplement to date. If you don't know this, kind of surprising. That's why we're going to talk more
Hmm.
about it. So in 1994, isomeride, a non-addictive drug containing a derivative of fenfluramine, which is Fenphen, was already on the market in Europe. Fenfluramine works by releasing into the body extra amounts of serotonin, which, as we talked about, is a chemical linked to a number of brain functions, including the feeling of satiety. With this, they created a weight loss aid. So an older version of fenfluramine Pondimin had been on the US market since 1973, but it had not been very successful because its moderate results were overshadowed by its uncomfortable side effects, including drowsiness and altered mood. It is important to note that fenfluramide has been withdrawn from the market due to safety concerns, while another ingredient in Fenphen called phentermine remains one of the most frequently prescribed weight loss medications in the US. Phentermine is now only generally prescribed for short periods of time, pretty much 3 to 6 weeks. The risk for taking phentermine is actually lower compared to ephedra.
So what is ephedra? Because I know that's why you guys are all here.
Mhm.
So like other stimulants and phentermine, ephedra acts on the central nervous system to speed your heart rate, reduce appetite, and increase energy. Does it sound like ecstasy? Maybe. So now you can see how this can be used as a weight loss aid. It's actually known specifically as a thermogenic aid because of all the actions that it does. And it was also part of Fenphen. This at the time was once actually available over the counter. Ephedra itself wasn't just in Fenphen, it was in a lot of other over the counter supplements. So basically, any Ephedra products that we see now are non existent because they're banned by the FDA. So the sale of Ephedra actually became illegal in 2004, so short 15 years ago, following the death of a baseball player whose name is Steve Betchler. I probably butchered that name, but he died after taking an Ephedra supplement. So the Harvard Medical School Family Health Guide actually states that the decision to ban ephedra was based on over 16,000 reports of negative health effects associated with the supplement. 16,000, guys. 16,000. And a lot of these reports probably it probably doesn't even account for all of them because a lot of times people go into hospital not knowing what the hell is going on. So Ephedra was actually once sold as a natural supplement, and it was also sold in Herbalife up until the early 2000s as well. Now Herbalife has a Ephedra-free line in their products. Go figure.
Yeah, 16,000 is a lot.
That's a shit ton.
And, that's just proof that that's kind of how long it takes for the FDA to actually make a decision. So keep that in mind when you, you
Yep.
know, buy supplements from anywhere. There could
Mm-hmm.
be reports that already exist. So now we're going to jump into some of the side effects. Irregular heartbeat, chest pain, severe headache could actually be the warning signs of a heart attack or stroke. Other
Mm-hmm.
problems such as seizures and mood changes have also been reported. Phentermine itself can also cause adverse health effects in some cases. Common side effects include insomnia, nervousness, dry mouth, and impotence. To prevent serious health problems, always consult a physician before taking weight loss supplements like Ephedra or Phentermine.
Definitely Ephedra, which should be banned, but you never know the black market.
It's still out there.
Yeah. So in 2003, like I just want to go into this, like because Ephedra was marketed everywhere. It was on TV, it was in magazines, everywhere. And actually, in 2003, the Federal Trade Commission actually announced 3 enforcement actions against the direct marketers of weight loss products containing ephedra itself. The 2 settlements and 1 complaint filed in the U.S. District Court, they targeted deceptive efficacy, safety, and no side effects, quotation marks, claims for weight loss supplements containing ephedra. The FTC actions challenged the false advertising claims that ephedra supplements cause rapid, substantial, and permanent weight loss without diet or exercise, and that clinical studies, quote, or medical research, quote, prove these claims. The FTC also challenged claims that the ephedra weight loss products are deemed 100% safe, perfectly safe, or have no side effects. The FTC had previously brought 4 enforcement actions challenging the safety and the no side effects claim, and for basically ephedra marketing towards bodybuilding and energy, and also as alternatives to street drugs like ecstasy. So there was a lot of issues with
Why
ephedra.
take
As
ecstasy when you can have a weight loss supplement?
yeah, you'll just die of a short little heart attack. It's fine.
Gosh.
I mean, like it was crazy how much this was everywhere. And
Mhm.
what do you think tends to happen when a supplement gets banned? Another one will probably take rise to
Mhm.
take its place.
Mhm.
And one of them is bitter orange, which we'll probably talk about later on.
Mhm.
That's just something to take note of. And I mean, the fact that Ephedra was banned in the US says it all, because home of the free speech, all this stuff. I mean, the fact that it was banned in the United States says a lot, and we don't ban a lot of things.
No, we don't. We really don't have that many supplement bans, which
Mm-mm.
truly is, one of the big messages that we want everyone to know. Like even your multivitamin could be doused with something. Like you really don't know. Probably not, but it still could be contaminated with anything. I mean,
Right.
talked about in the past, a woman died from acute liver failure from taking an Herbalife supplement because of heavy metal contamination. So it was like a protein shake.
Herbalife has its own issues. So, anyways.
Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We are going to close out with our social media shout out of the week. It goes to at Christina Avocado. So honestly, this Instagram handle just stood out and we had to pick it. Who can say no to avocados? She is a dietetic undergrad and a CNA. So it is great to see that those fields join together. So thank you for your support.
Thank you
And
so much.
yeah, we're always on the lookout.
So if you want to be our next social media shout out, just go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and then also, you guys, don't forget the next giveaway, which will be announced shortly too. So keep your
Exactly.
eyes on the prize.
Keep an eye out for that next Instagram post with all the details. All right, you guys, thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a review
5 stars, no less.
on whatever platform you're listening to, or send us an email at keepingitjuicypodcast@gmail.com.
Or if you have any topics you'd like for us to touch upon, shoot us an email. Until next time, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. So it blocks and inhibits the reuptake of serotonin and norepinephrine.
Yes.
I'm going to do that again. So serotonin,
Serotonergic.
serotonergic drug, serotonergic drugs. That's going to sound fucking stupid.
Say it fast.
Serotonergic. So low serotonin.
You were doing so well.
Well, you put the wording in there.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. So now we're gonna jump.
Dump what?
Always consult a physician before taking weight loss supplements. What do I want to say?